What do David Bailey, Alex Aiken, Mark Zuckerberg and Tom Cochrane have in common? They've all been defending the truth in the era of fake news, and these are four men that I've spoken to in the last 6 weeks. I might be stretching the truth a little bit by saying that I spoke to Mark Zuckerberg, but I happened to be in Brussels the day that he was defending Facebook and the Cambridge Analytica scandal. Tom Cochrane. Tom was the digital transformation manager with the Obama administration. Alex Aiken is the Director of Communications with the UK government. He told me about when the UK government bombed Syria and how they defended it and how they got the Prime Minister on YouTube to try and overcome the fake news and the vitriol that was happening against the government. David Bailey is a police constable in the UK. He is responsible for developing an internal academy among the Metropolitan Police. All of these people understand and recognise that the voice of their people, people like you in this room, deserve a voice. The balance of power in the world has shifted. That's a broader conversation, you might argue, for another day. But in terms of digital communications for the public sector, you need to understand, and perhaps you understand already, that the balance of power has shifted. State, church, politics, big business. That power has now been transferred into the hands of citizens. Citizens' voices are louder than ever before. They are using social media to give feedback, to complain, to demand transparency and trust. We are living through the fourth industrial revolution. The phone that I have in my hand contains 250,000 patents. The democratization of the internet, the free availability of Wi-Fi and the smartphone have changed the world. Google are saying that we are only 1% of the way into the total digital transformation that we are going to face in our lifetime. When it comes to trust and transparency, this is the #1 currency in the digital age. This is what we need to think about in terms of delivery of a message online. It's kind of irrelevant what channel that you use. People get absolutely obsessed with vanity metrics, with the tactics in relation to channels, but they're missing the big points. Every single speaker that I have invited onto this stage today was chosen particularly for their topic. So I would encourage you and invite you to study the agenda and have a real think about what they're saying and why they're saying it. My name is Joanne Sweeney-Burke, and you are welcome to Ireland's first public sector digital marketing summit. Where did it all come from? 3 years ago, my first speaker launched my book, and it's not a plug for the book, they're nearly all sold out. And that book, Social Media Under Investigation, Law Enforcement and the Social Web, brought me across the world engaging with police forces. And a good digital marketer understands that you need to get your niche right? And I grew up in Donegal, and my first job was as a broadcast journalist. And I worked for Highland Radio. And at that time, the Morris Tribunal had been launched, a public inquiry into allegations of wrongdoing against certain members in the Donegal division. For 2 months, that tribunal came to Donegal. Very often, I was the lone journalist covering it live, very complex information, making sure that I got the facts right and the truth out. The skills of journalism have stood to me to this day. Check and double check and verify, verify, verify. These are the skills that I use. Unfortunately, not everybody in social media verifies and checks and double checks. 2016 was the year that fake news got listed in the Oxford Dictionary. Donald Trump claims that he created the word. Propaganda, defamation, slander, all of these things, they've always existed. However, the problem is exacerbated in the digital age. I truly believe that your role and your responsibility and your truths need to rise to the top. We were pitching the media to come and cover this event, and we do have some media in the room, and we've got a very interesting news and media panel later. But the feedback was very interesting. We're not interested in the public sector. That's not a news story. But I'm going to change that, because what you have to say is a news story. Defending yourself in the media every day is not just your news story. There are people working in Ireland's public sector, about 300,000 of you, who were watching my child. My son Bobby is 8, he's in school in Galway now, and I know he's being looked after by teachers trained and employed by the Department of Education. I've had my children in hospitals in Letterkenny. I was looked after. The Pope was coming to Ireland in August. When Pope John Paul came to Ireland on the 29th of September 1979, I ended up in Sligo Hospital after being burned by black tea. We all know as citizens of this state that when we need the public sector, they look after us. So why is it that we continue to put public sector individuals down and you don't defend your truth? You now have a right of response. It's called social media, it's called digital communications. You now have an opportunity to defend your truth and to show trust and transparency to the people that you represent. Public interest messaging is important. Business messages are important. Hey, I'm an entrepreneur, and why is a business person standing up here and stepping into the void? You know, you could call me an opportunist, but if you look back at my career and what I've done, when I did my master's in journalism and I spent a night shift with Garda Síochána in Letterkenny, and a lady in Old Town, 82 years of age, was broken into, and I found myself in her house with her, living on her own, and a burglar, and these guards. I knew they had her back, and they had my back. You have the people's back, but that story never gets through, because guess what? Who's interested? You have to get the courage, the confidence, and the resolve to step up. The technology is easy to use. Hell, my 8-year-old thinks my YouTube channel needs a whole redesign. So I'm going to bring him in during the summer holidays to help me do that. You must not be scared of the technology. I deliberately targeted, and that's a terrible word, but it's the truth, marketing and communications professionals, because you understand public interest messaging. You understand what matters to your organization. You understand how to verify and fact check. And you understand how to communicate. You are the right people in this room, and you are the right people to lead digital transformation in your organizations. You don't need permission. If you came here for permission, I'm giving you the permission. I want to finally just say that when public sector organizations are faced with defending themselves in mainstream media or indeed in online channels, start thinking about your truth. There's a lady in this room called Bernadette Flanagan from the Presentation Sisters Union, and I had the pleasure of working with Bernadette and all her sisters about 18 months ago. And I stood at the front of the room in a hotel in Athlone, and Bernadette won't mind me saying this, it was predominantly female, yes, and the age profile was predominantly an older audience. There was 200 sisters in that room because they understood that their truth mattered and that they needed to digitize and put their truth out to live forever. And they're doing it on social, on digital, their website, they're blogging, they're doing email marketing. So if you want any tips, go to Bernadette in the center of the room. You all have a responsibility to represent and defend yourself. The stage is not for me today. The stage are for my remarkable lineup of speakers who have come to give their time.